Thank you so much for the sub. Thank you for the sub. Thank you so much for the sub.
Also this.
Hello. Hello. Oh, wait, hold on. What the hell? Hello. Hello. I had reverb on. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome. How are you? How is your day? Alright, hold on. Gotta do a little bit of stuff before I start. Also, thank you for the redeem. Thank you. I know I'm a little late. Okay, guys, I was like 10 minutes late. You know, but it's okay. It's okay. Okay. Okay, I'm ready. I'm so ready. Days good playing Pokemon Sword. Oh, nice. Fun. 10 minutes late and I'm here 15 minutes early. I was here an hour early. You were here an hour early? What the hell? You know what I was doing an hour before? I was sleeping. I took like a really quick nap, okay? A really quick nap. And then it hits like 9 o'clock. And I was like, oh god. My eyes, they just feel so heavy, you know? So heavy. By the way, shit, you good for yeah, I'm good to play games tomorrow, yeah. Oh, they say you cooked napped? Wait, what? Oh, quick. I thought you said a cook nap. No, I took a quick nap. Yup, a quick nap. God. I woke up like super early, that's why. I woke up at like 8, 9 a.m. And then I stayed up, and then I couldn't stay up anymore. I had to take a nap. No surprise plans this time? Hopefully not, hopefully not. This whole week has been like so stressful for me, guys. Really stressful. A lot of stuff happening at home. But it's okay, it's all good. It's good now, it's the weekend. I get to finally relax. Hopefully, you know? And we are gonna play some Sekiro. The most stress I have is waiting for my thumbnail to grow back. Your thumbnail? Like, what do you mean? Like your what do you mean thumbnail? Like the nail on your thumb, or you mean like a banner thumbnail? I think you need to like separate those words. Chaos. I sent a pic. You sent a pic. Oh my god! Chaos, what happened? That looks terrible. Oh, it came loose? What do you mean it came loose? What do you mean? What do you mean? What? And now it needs to grow back? Oh my god! Oh my god, chaos. Oh my god! Oh my god! I don't know what to say. Okay, we are gonna play. Hold on. I need to. Where is my death counter? Okay. I died 617 times. 617 times. Well, it doesn't hurt, if that's what you're wondering. I see. About what I imagine the number would be. Hey, my proudest achievement is that hopefully I beat this game under 1,000 deaths. Hopefully, okay? At least it's not, 4 digits. At this rate, Shane's gonna have 4 times the death I had when I beat this. Okay, buddy. Okay. This is my first ever Souls game. Give me some points, okay? Okay, we're fighting the last boss here. Genichiro. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. At the toenail fall off at like 10 or 11, it was soft and smooth on the skin. Oh my god! What the hell? It's crazy. What do you guys do? Oh! Okay. Oh god! Oh, get back! Ah!
俺にもなすべきことがある。さらばだ。
By the way, Shen, getting Churro is the easiest part of the fight, by the way. Okay. Thanks. Thank you for telling me. Drop the lock on my foot when I slip. When I slip out of my arms. Oh my god, what? God damn. Also, is it just me or does Shen mic sound a little low? Am I a little low? Oh, the game too loud. I think the game is too loud. Okay, how about this? This should be much better. Oh wait, 618, okay. 618. Oh my god, okay. Turn up the game a smidge. Okay. I don't want it to be too loud. Hopefully this is good. 650? Okay, 650, okay. Be aggressive. Okay, play aggressive. I will play aggressive. Argo. Ishin is hard? Okay. I'm kinda scared now. Skip. Oh! Please don't hit me! What the hell? Okay. Okay. He swung that time and now stab. Rude. Okay, he stabbed that time. Okay. 619. Okay. 619 and 19. Okay, we're just gonna go straight to it. So guys, my day, you know, I know nobody asked, but my day was pretty good. Thank you guys for asking. My day was pretty good. I woke up, I worked on some commissions. I was having really bad time on Marvel Rivals, but then today I got invited to play Marvel Rivals, and I'm on a winning streak. So I've been pretty good. Oh my god. Oh, oh fuck! I hate it. Leave me alone! Oh my god! Oof. Okay. Oh my god, okay. Okay, he always swings after his jump. Okay. Okay. Okay.
なすべきことがある
620. 619. Cordy died. I don't know. I don't know the reference. Come on, Shan, move those small fingers. I got this. I got this. Okay. 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 It's okay. We're only like 20 minutes in. It's just a warm up, you know? Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready. Playing Argo. Argo. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh fuck! Get back! Get back! Okay.
その力だ
Okay, what the hell? He stabbed that time? I thought he was gonna swing! I thought he was gonna swing! That's why I jumped! Oh, you guys are still gambling? Poggers, you won 530 points! You're the GOAT! You're not has... Damn, look at those numbers. 6,066? Ew. Oh my god! Jesus Christ! I set it for 20 people to give time to show up. Oh, I set it for 20 to give people time to show up. Ah, okay. Okay. 20 minutes.
俺がアシナを生かす
Okay. Okay. Oh! Oh! I ran right into that. Okay! I saw that! Okay. Oh. Oh, okay. Can you fight somewhere where there's no grass? Like here? Okay. Oh, I just gotta do posture. Okay. I just gotta do posture damage for him. First round. Time for Ishin. Guys, can I say something? Can I say something? I watched someone play this the other day. Like the other day. When was it? Like after my last stream, I was watching a VOD of one of my favorite streamers fighting him. Is that Loki spoilers? You ready to get curve stomp shit? No! No! god. Did he just come out of his body?
わしはこのアシナをよみがえらせねばならぬ。故に赤炉。
Sekiro.
お主を切るぞ。
Okay, first try, let's go! First try!
参れ、赤炉。
Oh, look at him! Look at him oral walking! What the hell? Look at him! Look at all those aura! He's walking so slow! Oh yeah? Oh yeah? You wanna fight? Let's fight over here. Yeah, wait, there's no grass. Oh no, wait, no, there's the edge. Oh! Oh. Okay, okay, stop. Oh! Oh! Whoa! He just won't get hit! What the hell? Okay, so much for slow walking? Now he's still gonna get 1k 40D here? Okay. Wait, hold on, let me heal. Yeah, hit the border! Never mind. What the hell? Oh! No! Okay, I know what to do now. I know what to do. If Shadow died twice, then who died once? The goat, who is not me. Panic. So welcome in, JJ. Welcome. How are you? How is your day? Okay, 6:22. 6:22. Easy, easy. But trying not to die this round. Did you add this? Yeah, I did.
Panic, but calmly. Gotta calmly panic.
Good. Oh my god. How you been, Lady Shinobi? I've been good. This week has been a little bit hectic for me, but today specifically has been a really good day. Yes. Makes perfect sense, and I'm doing good today. Thank you for asking, Shin. That's great. I'm glad you're doing good, JJ. See what I mean by Genitro is the easiest play? Yeah, I see. Also, thank you for the follow, Mr. Hayes. Please tell me if I'm saying your name right, Mr. Hayes. 66. Love the numbers. Welcome. How are you? How is your day? Oh yeah, your word was caught by Automod. Mist Haze. Oh, Mist. Ah, Mist Haze, but with a Y. Ah, do you go by Mist or Haze? Which one would you rather be called as? Also, how have you been? Welcome, welcome. This is my first time playing Sekiro, so please don't judge. Okay, okay. Oh fuck. I'm getting my ass whooped. Immediately! Oh my god. Would it be easy to just carousel around him? Oh my god. Look at him, he's just like aura walking. Okay. Is it better to play defensive? Don't hit me. Don't hit me! Oh shit! Ah! Okay. Where is he? 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 Oh, they're there, they're there. Okay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, shit! I thought he moved. One. I'm scared. Okay. Okay. Ah! Okay. Okay, just hit and run. Hit and run. Hit and run. Okay. No, he's gonna hit me. Carousel. I don't have any more gourds. I'm out. Okay. Guys, I got one. Second try. What the hell? What is this? Okay. This is kind of scary. Okay. Hesitation is defeat. You're so right. That's number 2. Oh, 623. Oh my god. Miss Works? Alright. Damn. If I had nickel for knowing 2 people named Miss, I'll have 10 cents. I'm doing good. I hope you're enjoying the game. I am. It's been a very, very, very long journey. As you can see, I have died 623 times. God, I love this game. I love this game. This is now officially 3 people I know is missed variations. 3 people? I only know 1 or 2 now. His aura, can he know you won't be there to do the shizzles? God. How many mist variants does it take to make a fog? Did I just what? Did I just I don't know. Oh, the cliff part. Yeah, I fell. Also, thank you for the redeem. Thank you. She loves doing hit and runs. Yeah, I do. It's got the coward strat, you know? Okay. Did she tell him to keep it safe? What do you mean? 690 death. 690 death, 69. Okay. Okay, basically first phase. What can Sekiro do? Phase 2, time to fuck him up. Phase 3, let's fuck him up even more. Okay. Got it. Oh shit. I go. Oh. Never mind. Oh fuck. Never mind. Oh shit. Okay. Should I read it again so people can vote? Up to you. Also, thank you for the head pass. Thank you.
Aire, Sekiro.
Okay. Rude. Oh fuck. Oh my god, I was trying to hide behind this rock. Okay. Oh, I'm dead. Wait, I'm not. Oh fuck this tree. Oh my god. JJ has 5 points and is rank number 46 out of 51. Am I still last place? Chaos has 575 points and is rank number 4. Okay, 624. Oh, mum. Womp womp. Shed is rigged? What do you mean? It's not rigged. Okay, can I like trade some of this? Alcohol sugar. What's this? Okay, suppress sound. Large attack power boost. Okay, let's do this one instead. Okay, take it before I go in there. Wait, no. Wait, let's go in there first. Do the cussing. Duck is the richest person in chat. I think Crimson is the richest person.
黒様俺がアシナを生かす
Come on, do you move already? Oh. Fuck.
その力だ
You know what? I give up.
さらばだ
Jesus Christ! Restart! 6:25. Welcome, Mint Crunchy! Welcome! Gamble? He's here to gamble, guys.
I come and I see death.
Oh, thank you for the sub! Welcome in, MP! Welcome! How are you? How is your day? Yeah, I'm dying here. 2K, yes, Shen, don't lose. I won't lose, I swear to God. Okay, 650. I can get it done in 25, within 25 death, I think. Okay. Also, how are you, Crunchy? How was your day? Welcome in. Okay, this is the one. Okay. I'll go. Fuck. No. Bad. Okay, that was very bad. That was really bad. Oh my god! Okay.
その力だ
Okay. Okay. 6:26. What is 226 death now? Also, welcome in, Toshi. Welcome. How are you? How is your day? It's been good. I wanna ask how are you as I see. Yo. I'm doing good though. Okay. Should never ask how I was. How are you, Mom? How are you? How was your day? Put extra 300 on yes, Shen. Okay, thank you. I love it when I have supporters and then they lose and then and then they don't support me no more. Okay, watch. I got this. Okay. I'm scared. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Thank you. I have a water bottle. I never lost that gamble on Sekiro stream. Really? Never? Ever? Oh my god. 626. Have you guys ever played Hotel 626? No, I have not. Is that a game?
黒様俺がアシナを生かす
Can I do that? is good. This is good. This is good. You have done a great thing, broski. Is that a Stitch reference from Lilo and Stitch? Let's turn up. Let's turn channel points with that Uber rap. No. You could also, you know, get the scam. It's worth a lot too, you know.
Aire, Sekiro.
Ishin.
Yeah.
Okay. We hit and we run to the left. Oh, to the right, I mean. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit! Oh! Please! Is it better to, like, just parry him? Rather than dodging? Fuck, okay. Scared. Okay. Okay, 3. Oh! Okay. Hit and run. Hit and run. Hit and run. Oh god. Oh shit. Ow! Okay. Okay. Stay out of the edge. Where is he? Come on, hit me first. Come on. Oh fuck. Oh. Okay. Okay. I'll go. Okay. I'll go. Oh fuck! Okay. Can I make him fall? Can I make him fall? I can, right? Come on. Center, come on. Psst, come in. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh. Center. No, I don't want to face you. No, I don't want to face you.
I don't know if anyone has told you this today, but you deserve something. I don't have any to give you, but I just thought that you should know that you deserve something.
Oh! Who's chasing me? Ah, okay. Thank you for the flame. Thank you. Oh fuck. Oh god. Jesus Christ. 267. Yes, Stitch is known as Experiment 626. Oh. Not gonna lie, I haven't watched the new Lilo and Stitch movie. I heard they changed like a lot of things from like the animated one. Okay. Our rap will go so hard, that's why I'm gonna save up to 69k points to hear it multiple times in a row. You know, you could hear it for free on youtube.com. Oh, YouTube/Shinobi with 2 eyes_. How far you reached? Just that part, honestly. Okay. Now the chance of me winning the gamble is 90%. Oh no. Okay. It's no longer Ohana means family? Wait, it's not? But that's what the whole movie is about, right? Like the original Lilo and Stitch? No, this is old. I have nothing to say to that. Okay. I'm focused, I'm locked in. Fuck, okay. Ah! Oh fuck, oh. And it's the wrong heel, that's why. Okay. Oh. That's okay. It was a bad start, you know, it's okay. 6:28. Now it's about Ohana means going to California to study marine biology. Actually. Okay, I have 3 pellet, 9 healing gourd. Okay. Yeah, actually? What? She chooses to leave? What? That's so lame. What the hell? That hit me? Oh. Oh, back up. God. Okay. Oh fuck. Okay, there we go. Skip.
Sekiro.
Okay, Asian. Okay. Come on. Okay. Oh. This is tough. 6-9. So Ohana means leave? Oh my god, it does? Pretty much Crimson? Ohana means to leave it all behind? I gotta watch it. I heard it was good though, like the movie was good. They just needed to leave it be, but not ink in my little right? I thought it was like an exact replica of like the original movie. Just like we shouldn't trust live action remakes. Just stick to the original. Exactly, right? Exactly.
俺がアシナを生かす
Okay. Oh. Oh my god. Stop chasing me! Stop chasing me! Oh god! Okay, buddy. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay. 6:30. The original movie Stitch didn't die? No, he didn't die. I thought he died in the second movie. Wait, wait, he dies? Wait, Stitch died in the second movie? I don't remember that. I really don't remember that. I don't remember him dying. Okay, skip.
俺がアシナを生かす
Okay. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I hate that. The arrow of his.
その力だ
Okay. I got no res. Do you remember Stitch glitching? Yeah, I remember. Then they brought him back using Disney magic. Honestly, I remember. I know for sure I watched the second movie, but like I have like no memory of it. Like I don't know what happens in the second movie, but I know I watched it. I remember watching it. Oh my god. Okay. Cover strats! Cover strats! Oh, let me heal. Oh my god! Okay. 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 I need a res. I need a res. $6.31. Yeah, because Disney Magic, he came back. Shen, do you remember Stitch had a bad level paper? The more he glitched, the more colored in the drawing was. No. No, guys, I don't know. I probably watched the movie when I was like 6 years old, 6, 7 years old. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been so long. Then maybe it was the first movie. How many Little Stitch movies were there? I remember the first two. Then the one was the electric cousin and Leroy. Who is? He has an electric cousin and Leroy. What the heck? Yeah, maybe I didn't watch it. Okay. Okay. Ouch! Okay. Somebody got hit by that. Okay, okay, this is good. This is good. This is good.
Sekiro.
I hit first. Oh, oh. Rude. Rude, 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 rude. Okay. Okay. Oh, what the hell? I'll walk right into that. Ouch! Okay. Okay! That's okay. That's okay. Okay. It's okay. 6:32. Yeah, they made a whole series about his cousin for the Disney Channel. Oh my god. Yeah, all their friends fell out of the sky and led into water, making them come out like a Pokeball. Actually? Actually? What? I didn't know Lilo Stitch lore goes that far. What was the same movie where it has some space scenes, like a big shark dude? Big shark dude? I'm pretty sure he showed him in every Lilo and Stitch movie. Maybe not the second one though. Big shark dude. I have no idea. What? I didn't know like Lilo and Stitch was that like it has much more stuff. Oh. Shouldn't I dead in Minecraft and blaming you? Womp womp. Why you blame me? That's your fault. Okay. Okay. I wasted rest, but it's okay.
参れ関野
Okay. Let's try to stay like closer to him. Okay. Okay! That was a good run! That was a good run! That was actually a good run! Okay. Okay, carousel. Oh. Fuck. What? He has a gun! Not fair! Not fair! I didn't know he shoots me! I didn't know he shoots me. What the heck? What? That was such a good fight though! Okay. I need another rest! Another rest. Do I have anything to like boost wealth? Okay. More coin. Obtaining items, spirit emblems. Resurrected power. Should I new divine confetti? I should, right? Like confetti? Specifying agent. Oh no. Red lump. But also prohibits the news of resurrection. Not gives him? No? No? Is it only for the headless? Okay. Soul. I got that. Okay. Snap seed. Okay, I think that's all I can get. Specifying agent, dowsing powder, antidote powder. Only have one divine grass. Okay. He has a gun. What a true-blooded American. Okay. Fucking lose everything, YOLO it! That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do.
俺がアシナを生かす
Oh. Please! Fatality! Oh god! Okay.
その力だ
Okay. This is good. This is good. Okay. This is it. Ouch! Ouch! Holy crap. Ow! Okay. No! Okay. 634. 634. 634. Oh my god. Crimson, haha, you lost 476 points. Oh my god, you lost half of your points already. You're down to 2k. Okay. How many phases did this boss have? 4. 4 phases. I've only been through 3 of them. 2 of them? I only beat 2 of them. Yeah. Okay. Should I remember to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. Twist it, pull it, pop it. Hesitation is defeat? You're right! Hesitation is defeat! Argo. Argo is... Argo! Ow! Hey, that blade of yours! Oh my god! Should focus! Okay? Okay. Oh my god, his boss don't hit it! Wait, why is he so hard to fight here? Okay. Okay. Imagine if a Papa is still a boss in this game. Okay. Oh. Oh. Okay, that's okay. No! Are you kidding me? Oh my god! Oh god! Okay. Oh, I'm too far! third phase. It's the one with the freaking gun. Okay, we stay back this time. Oh shit! Okay. Oh my god, where's it? Oh my god, okay. Okay. Oh, what the hell? Unfair! How are you wielding a spear with a Glock? That is unfair. What the heck? Shit, just imagine him taking your last monster, go ham on him. Oh god, okay. We're gonna lose this again. Okay. How are you not? You can't have a gun too. I can't have a gun too? Have a gun? Okay, this is the thing. Oh. Okay. Oh. Ouch! Oh! Okay, you know what? Okay. Okay. Okay! I'm gonna ask B here. Okay. No, you can't. Okay, Mom, don't tell me lies. See, Shan, let this be a lesson to never bring a sword to a gunfight. God damn. 636. Okay. Hand too small to hold one. I could hold a pistol. If I ever have a gun, I want a revolver. A big gun. Probably not good to news, but like, it looks cool, you know? We should take it ready. Oh shoot! Wrong one! I was trying to the balloon! Oh. Okay. Ooh, okay. 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 I think you will hold a different kind of pistol. It won't shoot, but you can peg it. Hey, yo, what? Hey, Hey yo, what? Okay. Ooh. Okay. Woo! That almost hit me. Scary. Oh. Okay! Okay! This is good. This is good. This is real good. Okay. Shen, you gotta parry, Shen. You gotta learn how to parry, Shen. Oh my god. Okay. Ooh. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. That one is so hard. Getting pegged by Peg, like Peggy. Now that's a title. Getting pegged by Peggy. Getting pegged by like Peggy. Down by the peg store. Okay, this is the one. This is the one. Seriously, this is the one. Ouch! The hell? Okay. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god, he's so annoying. Oh my god.
その力だ。
Jesus Christ! Say it 3 times fast, Shinobi. Getting pegged by peg like Peggy. Getting pegged by peg like Peggy. Getting pegged by peg like Peggy. Down by the peg store.
結局何もできなかった。
参れ関野。
Okay. This. Oh. Ooh, okay. Okay. Thank you for the head pass. Thank you. Thank you for the redeem. That's hilarious. I love it. You're welcome. Okay. I feel like the second phase is a lot easier than the first one. Okay, I gotta play Argo. Argo.
俺がアシナを生かす。
Oh. What the hell? Ah, what the hell? Please. Okay. Okay. Oh my god! Okay. That was good, right? That was good.
参れ関野。
Oh. Okay. Okay, that's fine. No! God. No! No! 639. Oh, maybe hear me out this one, Shinobi. Maybe you're going easy on him on the first phase. Just the copy again. I mean, she was acting the first phase easy for a bit before, and struggle a bit on the second phase, and now it's the reverse. So odd. Okay, I think it's because my focus has shifted. You know? After I figured out that I could get past the first phase, I just completely ignore it. You know? But it's okay. It's okay. I got this. I got this. I got this. Hey, locked in. We're locked in. Locked in right now. Locked in right now. Hey, I got my gamer posture here. Gamer posture. Okay, I gotta block that. Please don't hit me. I blame the tree. I blame the tree. Okay, I blame the tree. I blame the tree. That hurts me. Ouch. That hurts me so much. Wait, who's locked in there? Or are we all locked in there? You guys are all locked in there. Okay, 640, 640. 10 more deaths. I think the number is gonna have to be higher. Oh god. To take a plank and commit a tree. No miss. I blame the tree. Okay. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. I'm losing it. I'm losing it. 640. Oh, 641. Where are we locked in at? You guys are under my bed for now. Yeah, Shan put me in the attic after I tried to sneak in. Should I sneak in instead, Crimson? Maybe Shira has some pit on you? Okay, okay, I'm ready! Okay, positive attitude, calm and steady. Calm and steady, calm and steady wins the game. Oh. Oh, okay. Ooh, I don't know why I jumped. god. I'm playing too passive here. Okay. Okay. What are you guys talking about? I wouldn't play her if she did. This boss ain't tedious to beat. What do you mean she doesn't let you come in and go as you please? How do you think I got here? I saw Mummy here already. I freaked out and hit the table and heard. But then I saw her hunched over trying to sneak out. Oh my god. Send help? You don't need no help. Oh my god. Thank you for the redeem. Thank you. You guys are funny. Sekiro. Oh. What the hell is that noise? Oh. Ouch. Okay. Okay, maybe staying close is better, right? Parry time. What the hell? Okay. 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 How do I fight him? How do I fight him? How do I fight him? Oh my god. 642. On my way 07, he tried getting to the closet and found me in a closet and freaked out. Do we eat her or not? Is it cannibalism? Is that a goat? You gonna eat me? Nah. Now she's a Fujoshi. I'm a Fujoshi. Was she a Goman? Oh god. Not cannibalism. Had to look up Fujoshi to understand what you mean. I learned something new today. You don't know what Fujoshi is? Oh my god, JJ. You've been under the rocks. Good for you. Good for you. That means you touch grass. Good. Pull out your one is stupefied. Stupefied him. Fight him with a gun. I'll try. Oh fuck, I don't know why I keep... Okay. Fuck, what the hell, shit! Why did you run towards him? bad run. That was a bad run. Bad start, you know? Bad start, you know? I don't know what Fujoshi is. Do I wanna... It's not bad. It's not bad. Trust me. You guys trust me, right? It's not a bad word. It's just a description. Yeah. Yeah. Not gonna pull blue waffle. No, it's not. I swear. Oh, your comment? Which comment? She's trapping boys and forcing them into a BL relationship for her fantasies. Damn right I am. Damn right. Chance playing with her left foot. That's why it was a bad run. Exactly. Oh. Okay, good. Become a watermelon? Thank you for the redeem. Thank you. Okay, I'm locked in. I'm focused. Oh, you gonna do it again? Maybe I should counter that. Should I try counter? Oh. Oh. What the hell? Okay. Oh, I'm about to die. Oh. Should I try using my shuriken on him? I shouldn't. I have 17. Okay. 6:44. Fujoshi is usually used to refer to a girl who likes BL. Learn the way of the water. You might be traumatized if you look it up. Describe Shen. Also Shen Baka. Me Baka? No, you Baka. You Baka. No, you should use the feathers to maneuver him. Or the axe to interrupt him. The feathers? I've never used the feathers before. The axe, this one? Okay. Oh, whoops. Did not mean that. Okay. The axe?
really don't know this.
Kind of smell
What the?
Like a baka.
like a baka. And then
足を生かす
Eren Yeager. Okay.
にじらせはせぬぞ
Okay. Okay. Good round. Good round. Skip.
参れ関野
Oh, what the hell? Okay. Ouch! Ouch. Ouch!
破れる
Thank you for the reading. Thank you. Now she's acing first phrase again. Okay. I gotta remember. Okay. 6, 4, 5. 6, 4, 5. A lot of you guys are gonna lose a whole lot of points. Okay.
俺がアシナを生かす
Okay. Ah, get out of the way! Oh, that hit me. Okay. Focus. Oh. Ouch, holy crap. Okay, over here. Oh, it hit me. What the hell? my god. Okay. Oh my god! Oh my god! What is going on? Why can't I be here this time now? Okay. Where are you going? Hit him 2 times. I'm like, 2, run! Run! 1, 2, run! 1, 2, run! 1, 2. Oh. Okay. I think I almost get it. I think I almost got it. I think. Poggers, you won 210 points. You have 420 points. You have 420 points, Chaos. Okay. 646. Blaze it.
俺がアシナを生かす。海に切らせはせぬぞ。
Oh shit! Don't hit me. Okay. Good. Shouldn't go get high for once. No, shit should be going low.
参れ、Sekiro。
Okay, 2 hits, run. Oh fuck. Oh my god. Hold on. I'm not ready. Okay. Ouch. Okay. Hurry up! Come here! Okay. Okay. I'm scared! Oh. Oh, okay. Oh my god! Ah! He hit me! He hit me! Okay. Do not be scared. You're scared. You'll be fearful. Oh, you're right. 647. 647. 647. 647. 647. 647. 647. 647. Okay. Okay. Confidence is key. Confidence is key. Still be scared, forehead? Okay, 5 head. Thanks. Oh, what the hell? Oh fuck! He stabbed again. Okay. Greedy Shen. I'm greedy! Okay.
参れ関野
What the hell? Oh my god! Jesus Christ. Okay. Okay. Ouch. Okay. I died instantly. I died instantly. Oh my god. Ow! What the hell? Oh wait, he's on the floor. Is that crow on the ground? I didn't notice him on the ground. Wait, is that crow on the ground? Just lie on the ground while we just fight around him. It's kind of funny. Okay, thank you for the hydrate. Thank you, thank you. Okay, twice. Took you that long to notice? Yeah. I didn't see him on the floor. Okay. Okay, okay. Oh. This one. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready. Another one! Thank you for the redeem! Thank you for the hydrate! Thank you for the bonk! Go to sleep, mommy. You're drunk? The hell? I'm dashed, I'm dashed, I'm dashed. Don't hit me! Okay. That was not good. That was not good at all. 650. 650. You know what? I think it's the poll, the gambling curse. You know, usually after the poll, I do so much better, you know? Okay, okay. Okay, we're gonna try again. We're gonna try again. Oh, 7 points. 7K go to Crunchy and JJ. 7K! Holy damn! Oh my god. God damn. Congrats! Undefeatable Gamble Stone runs on. Oh god. What? Crimson! What? You lost all 1,683 points. Always bit on Crunchy. Okay. 4K 1 points for the Uber rap. Oh no. Oh no. My game crashed. No! What happened? My game froze! No! My game froze! I blame you guys. When did you save? I think it auto saves. It's just gonna take me back to like where I started. I crashed. I said thank you for the redeem. Welcome, man. It's hallowed. Welcome, welcome. How are you? How is your day? How is your evening? How's your morning? Okay, is shit had enough of killing you? Damn, he's pitying me. Hey, that's it. Huh. Task manager. Okay, okay. We're gonna reopen the game. Game couldn't handle it no more. Got her shit rocked so hard, game crashed. Hello. Game's telling you to touch Crash Shinobi? You know, you're right. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for joining. I'm kidding. I was 80, so I didn't know how much shit improved, so no gambling this time, but probably 95%. Not before. Okay. My goal is to beat him at least before 700. Okay. That is my goal. It is possible the game was last ended without selecting quick game from the pause menu. It is recommended to use the quick game option in the... Okay, it's not my fault. Well, let me look at my settings. My graphics too high, is that why? Medium. It's not medium! Why did it crash? Okay. What are your thoughts on her rage quitting? I'm not gonna rage quit! Guys, I'm not gonna rage quit. Okay, we are back here. Unseen aid. Unseen aid. Okay. Unseen aid. Let's do this first before I go in. The vote says otherwise. Okay. Coming for you! Okay. Okay. Good start. Okay. Good start.
Sekiro.
Okay. Oh, maybe just 2 hits. Oh. Okay. Back up, back up. Maybe not. Oh, okay. Thank you for the reading. Thank you. I am now in love. I'm in love with Ishin. Grandpa core. Come here, come here. Hit me! Oh my god. Please. Ouch! What the hell? Oh my god, I'm dead. Okay. 651. 651. Thank you for the like! Crunchy, thank you. Crunchy will be watching me from inside the closet. Ooh la la. Ooh la la. Shen likes older men. That I do. That I do. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, this is good. This is good. Really good. How much older asking for that guy you rejected? I don't know. There is a limit. As long as you're not like close to dying. No, I do not love the oldest man. No. Unless he's rich. Okay. If they're close to dying and they're rich, I'll consider it.
Sekiro.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Ow! I'm locked in! I'm locked in! No, I'm not. I am not locked in. Not locked in at all. Oh my god! Please! I'm still alive! I'm still alive! this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. Nothing! Holy crap! Okay, is fighting him? Okay, guys, I have a very important. Is fighting him like fighting the gun lady? It's the same thing, right? Like he grapples you and he shoots you, right? She wants that closer to dying so she gets all this shit. She tried to secure that pension. Exactly. So she could get a fridge and fit it with 4 monster drinks. I was thinking more of Shen getting a server to server and buy her monster drinks. Why is it always monster drinks? You don't know. What if I want Red Bull? Okay. Try this again. Is it because they both have guns and Buster load up? Hey yo, JJ, your wording is very sussy. Oh. Okay, you see that, guys? Okay.
Sekiro.
Oh my god, okay. 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 Red Bull does give you wings. That would be better. I didn't do it again. Jesus Christ. 653. Hey, this is the one. Got this, Shen. Shen is very excited. Shen enjoys this game so much. Shen is having so much fun. Shen can't wait to beat this game and never touch it again. Oh. Oh. Please don't chase me, please. Please don't chase me, please. Okay. I can't wait for Shen to beat this game and do it all over again in a harder difficulty. I can't wait for her no death run. You guys are delusional. You guys are delusional. You think I would do that? Okay. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay, focus in. No time for whining. No time for whining. Please. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. We gotta wait for him to come to me instead. I remember I was playing very like defensive here. Hit me! Come on! Oh god. Okay. What the hell? Ooh. Okay. There's always time for winning. What else do we drink? Okay, okay. Thank you for the head pass. Thank you. Crimson, you need at least 69 points to roulette. Don't you know that? Okay. Wait, did I put a number on the counter already? I did, right? Did I not? 654? I'm gonna just add one in case. 655. Okay. JJ has 60 points and is rank 22. Ooh. Okay, take this. Rude. Oh my god, okay. I gotta counter that. Okay.
Sekiro.
god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. 656. This game is gonna kill me. Okay. This is the one! This is the one! Shin, cannot wait. No, it's not, you'll be fine.
黒沢俺がアシナを生かす
Okay. Shin, show your mouth. I'm locked in. What the hell? God, Jesus Christ!
その力だ
Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god! Yeah, it's a bad start. It was a bad start. It was a really bad start. 657. 657. Being hit by too many fire-based attacks will eventually apply the burn status abnormalities. Okay. Okay. I'm zipping my mouth. My eyes are glued to the screen. I'm becoming a shrimp. Okay, and I'm locked in. No thoughts, brain empty. Just gaming. Just gaming. Pure gaming. Okay.
俺がアシナを生かす
Okay. Oh, that was a jab. I thought he was gonna swing at me.
その力だ
Hey, thank you for the flip. Thank you.
参れ関野
No, please. I gotta heal. god. 6, 5, 8. Okay. Okay, just pure gaming. Pure gaming, no dots. Pure gaming, no dots. Pure gaming, no dots. Okay. Thank you for the hair pass. Thank you. Okay, how long did it take you guys to beat him? People who play this game. Like 4 hours?
俺がアシナを生かす。
Oh, he did it twice?
その
What the
力
hell? He didn't hit me though, the first one.
踏みにじらせはせぬぞ。
Oh. Okay. Not that long first try? Under 1 hour? Really? Under 1 hour? I don't know how long it took me. What the hell? Okay.
参れ、関野。
Oh. What the hell? What the hell? Maybe I shouldn't hide behind that freaking wall. Oh. Ah! Okay. So that's the hard one. Did this say Argo? 659. Most of his oppressive skills are similar to the other human bosses. Yeah, I noticed that. But it's like, oh, it's so hard to adapt. It's so hard for me to adapt. Okay, 659, 659. Wasn't there a counter attack you can do? Yeah. The Mikuri. But only works if he like jabs me though, but with his fucking spear, he's always like swinging it. Oh. Okay. Did that work? I'll have to wait for him to like jab me, stab me. But I hate it. Okay, it's all long range. Like he has a gun and his spear is like super long.
Sekiro.
Oh, hater. Okay. Okay. Ouch! What the hell? Let me heal, let me heal, let me heal. Oh my god. Oh my god, please! Where is he? Okay. Okay, I just gotta like parry really good. I just gotta parry really good. 660. Okay, parry the platypus. No, parry the guinea turtle. Parry the Ishin. Okay. 660. I'm saying it now. That number 666 is gonna be my lucky number. I just know it.
俺がアシナを生かす。
Oh. Oh, the heck.
その力だ。
What the hell? 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 Okay. 661. You abomination. Six, 661. Okay. Shenlock in. Shenlock is on my side. Shenlock. Okay.
俺がアシナを生かす。踏みにじらせはせぬぞ。
Oh my god.
その力だ。
Oh. Oh. Okay.
参れ、関野。せよ。
Okay. Oh. Rude. this good? Is this good? This is my parry. Where my parry skill comes in. Oh my god! Where's my cam? Okay. Okay. Oh my god, this is hard. This is hard. 662.